All right, what's popping, y'all? Today we got some breaking news coming out of Jackson, Mississippi, where about 215 unalive individuals have been found in unmarked graves behind a Mississippi jail.
We are better than this. I believe the sheriff will help us. As I said, I'm going to speak with Dr. Young. I'm going to speak with Reverend
It's
Buckley
sad,
and
and
some
this is
others.
only the sixth day in 2024. 7th day actually. Now, pretty much this has been kind of like an investigation going on for months. I'll explain more about it in a few seconds, but basically, the Chicago Crusader just broke a story about it a few days ago about these remains, being discovered in like pauper cemeteries in Hinds County, Mississippi, basically in the town of Jackson, Mississippi. And what's very startling about this case is that these, grave sites, a lot of them were only just marked by, merely a metal rod and numbers. So there is some indication that there could be, prisoners in this, site, but also there's some indication there could be just unclaimed individuals within the town that was also buried on this site that their next of kin was not notified. And a lot of people think that the big reason why this story actually broke was because of Dexter Wade. Basically, Dexter Wade was a man who was unalived I would say almost a year ago, a few months shy of a year ago, basically by a police officer. He was ran over by, a police officer, and basically he was, buried, without his next of kin being notified. And so after investigations for a few months, his mom actually found out the truth, and this kind of like led to the other, grave sites being unearthed and being, kind of like, exposed. And basically just going down this report of an independent autopsy that was done a few months back. Basically, the pathologist found that he found a wallet in the front pocket of his jeans that contained his state identification card with his home address, as well as credit card and health insurance information. And so basically, a lot of people are believing that this is some type of cover up, because basically, if you get unalive in any circumstance, basically the next of kin is supposed to be identified. And obviously, in the manner of which he had been unalived, there's some kind of like foul play, a lot of people are believing attached to this case. And just going around the story of his mother, Wade. Basically, she reported her 37-year-old son missing on March 14th, 9 days after he was struck by a police cruiser as he was crossing a highway. She got no information from police about what happened to him until August 27th, basically about 5 months later, when she learned that he'd been unalive less than an hour after he had left his house and was buried in a pauper's field owned by Hinds County. Hinds County Coroner's Office, office investigator reported that he did not find any identification on Dexter Wade's body, but found his name on a bottle of prescription pills and used that information to confirm who he was within days. The investigator said he called a number listed for Bertistine Wade, but did not hear back. Bertistine Wade said she had no recollection or record of such a call. And I mean, obviously, I believe her, because if you had a call that your, loved one passed away, I'm pretty sure you have some type of recollection of it. And it's just like, with the all this going on right now, it's just like, there's no way like the coroner's like really telling the truth. The coroner's office investigator also reported that he shared Wade's information with police. Jackson Mayor Choke Lamamba said last month that Wade was without identification and the police were not able to identify him. But the finding of the ID in his pocket says otherwise. And so that's why a lot of people think this is like some big cover up that's about to take place. As well as there's no indication that authorities went to the address before burying Wade, and which is inexcusable in itself, because like the reason why we have, next of kin notifications if someone was unalive or passes away is because, hey, your loved one's here. We want to make sure like identify him. Like you have to ID the person before you had to do some type of burial with it. And like if you don't get the next of kin involved, then obviously they go to the state, but there needs to be an attempt for you to get the next of kin involved, and there was clearly no attempt to do it, especially since we just found an ID in the pocket from an independent pathologist. So there's a lot of indication that he wasn't even embalmed, that he wasn't even prepared to get buried. Basically they just put him in a bag and some just buried him like he was. And it's just like, that's the most saddest thing about this case. And really, just to end off this case, basically Jackson Police Department announced that they will now have a death notification policy, which was not in place at all, like as you think it should be. So yeah, there's a whole lot of like iffy things going on. Somebody's gonna get fired, somebody's gonna get charged. Now, a lot of people would automatically assume that was just coincidence, but there was also another case of a person that was unalive and buried in a popper's field. Basically, the family also said he wasn't notified, or they weren't notified. Basically, Marrio Moore was found unalive in the streets, basically, wrapped in a gray and blue tarp on February 2nd of last year by someone walking to work. His homicide was ruled in foul play, and basically the cause of it was blunt force to the head. And about 2 months later, on April 3rd, the Hinds County Board of Supervisors approved his burial in a penal form. The document indicates, and Moore was buried there 3 months later on July 14th. So just the fact, not even the fact that you didn't tell people, but you had like 5 months to bury this guy, and literally like that is too long to have a body just sitting there like just stored somewhere. Like that is insane to me that that was even allowed to happen. His family says they didn't learn of his death until early October, when they saw Moore's name in a list published by CNN affiliate yada 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 of 24 foul play victims whose identities had not been publicly disclosed by the Jackson Police Department. Like, not even the Jackson Police Department disclosed it. They had to find it through CNN. Like that is beyond humane. And basically the way they were able to kind of connect dots on what happened to Marrio was basically the same way Dexter Wade's mom was able to connect dots on his unaliving. And basically in this case, they were able to find the same field that Dexter Wade was buried in. They found Moore was buried in along with all these other unmarked graves. And so with members of the family meeting with the officers and the detectives about his case, and just figuring out what was their protocol, and basically call this as an adequate notification of kin. And before people start blaming the families and stuff, maybe like they didn't do all the due diligence, or just like, oh, they didn't care about him until now, they're trying to get a check. Basically the officer in this case basically left contact information for the captain, Captain Thompson, at the address of his mother. And basically they also identified a brother, Gavin Moore, whose phone number was not a working number. But the thing about it, they named him. The brother's name is Godwin. I'm not gonna butcher his last name, but that's basically Gavin Moore, not Gavin Moore. So they basically misidentified the wrong person, and basically didn't know who the next of kin actually was. So when you're reading reports saying like, oh, we did this, we did, I don't believe that, because it's just like, how can you misidentify such crucial information, as much as like the information is out in the 21st century? Like you can pull up anything on the World Wide Web. You can pull up somebody's phone numbers, address, whatever. Like a lot of social security benefits, whatever, you can pull up whenever you need to. And at the end of the day, no excuse why you had no reason to do your due diligence and contact them. You could at least send an email at least.
We had to buy him back from the state. In order to do anything,
Golly.
to get a death certificate, we had to spend money.
Like basically what she was referring to, basically if you have to dig up a unalive person burial site to get exhumed and get an independent pathologist or autopsy, basically you have to pay the money like for the state and the county to be able to do that service, because they're quoting it like they're doing it on their time and their efforts and all that. And in normal circumstances I will understand that, but this is a case where you got an individual that wasn't claimed for months, that wasn't notified, next of kin wasn't notified, basically didn't know this was happening, and now they having to perform their own autopsies, figure out what happens, and get some answers, rather than just go over the story that he was just found on the street. Like that is sick and inhumane in itself, and it's just it just like startles me, and just like how disturbing this is. It's another example of this is that 1,000 unalive people rest under the University of Mississippi Medical Center campus that was found a few years ago. In 2013, a construction crew doing work on the campus discovered about 66 unalive people from the Mississippi State Asylum, which was on site from 1855 to 1935. A year later, a radar scan will reveal at least 2,000 more unalive people on the site of the known Asylum Hill, and now experts believe there were maybe as many as 7,000 unalive people on the 20-acre plot of land which campus hopes to develop. And all this was discovered because people wanted to build a parking lot, or build doing constructions, whatever, to expand the campus. Like imagine like it was not discovered, at that point, Like it's unimaginable. And the university was estimating about how much it was, you know, cost to remove and rebury the bodies. Is going to be about $21 million, and they need to, you know, do all $21 million of that, because it makes no sense how, like, you can, you know, just do that to human beings, like, you know, not even respect them in, you know, death, you know. So yeah, that has been pop health for today. I don't even want to have an indie ending, because this it's nothing short of just disturbing. Like, it's just disrespectful, and you know, it's just, you know, in a country we still live in a day. You know, we always teach about patriotism, we pride, and all this, and like, you discover this was happening today. Like, it's sick and disturbing. I think someone needs to be held accountable for it. Hopefully someone will be held accountable for it, someone at least fired for this. But you know, we'll see how this case goes. I'm definitely going to be keeping up with it, and you know, just like bring more updates as it comes. So that being said, if you like what you see today, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, all that wonderful good stuff. Stay warm, frosty, depending on what part of the country in, and peace out.